Hi, I'm Varley and welcome back to the home of EDFL Web TV, the Pascoe Vale Hotel. This season we'll be coming to you weekly right here on the EDFL YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all our videos. It's been another action-packed week in the EDFL, so let's jump straight into this week's top talking points.
Thanks, Claire. Yes, we're here at Maribyrnong Park this week for EDFL Web TV. Adem Saricaoglu joining me, Pellizzeri. And of course, at Marby, you've got some big functions coming up. Don't forget their Sportsman's Night on Friday, June the 5th, which has got Sam Newman, Terry Danaher, and hosted by Tony Shebeki. And also the team of the decade for the 60s all the way through to the 2000s for not just Maribyrnong Park, but also the Mooney Imps and the Riverside Stars. That's on Saturday, August the 1st. Go to www.marby-lions.com for more information. Adam, it's time to look ahead to the weekend in prospect, and how about we start with the broadcast game in Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. It's of course Strathmore taking on Greenvale, and this really is an important one for Strathmore because they made a big statement dropping a lot of players to the reserves last week, including some off-season recruits like Michael Sikora and David Mitchell, and also some of their senior regulars like Andrew Horns. So I asked Craig Clinic what the strategy was and what the progress from here was going to be, and he said that the club didn't have any comment to make and they would go through the same selection process that they normally would every week on a Thursday night regarding standards and form. So I can interpret that to mean maybe just a week in the twos, but I guess we'll find out when they run out onto the field on Saturday, or more importantly, when we turn up on Saturday and we watch the twos go about their business beforehand. Yeah,
I'm starting to think that a lot of it is upstairs at the moment for Strathmore at the moment. They should be, we're talking about a big three, it should be a big four, maybe even a big five if you want to include Avondale Heights, but it's upstairs at the moment for Strathmore. I think that the hangover questions are well and truly valid now. Is this premiership hangover actually having an effect on this team? You drop 5 of your best players and almost drop a game against the Northern Saints. That's not too much of a surprise, but they come up against Greenvale this week. I'm pretty sure there'll be a much closer looking best 22 than what was up against the Northern Saints. There'll be a lot more of their better players back in the side. I'm pretty confident of that because you're basically giving away the loss to Greenvale if you don't play your best 22 in that game. We'll see what happens on Saturday afternoon. And Greenvale will go in as favourite, but we'll see if Strathmore finally want to switch on and actually be competitive.
Now, defensively, Greenvale very good at the weekend. Of course, the final quarter made the score a little bit more flattering for Keilor after they were thoroughly outplayed for the first three. So Shannon Grant, he's on a roll. He's had a close loss to Aberfeldy, and that's about it. I mean, Greenvale haven't put a foot wrong since then, other than, of course, losing to Pascoe Vale, and again, in a game where there was a key injury and Pascoe Vale were flying at that point of the season. So you can't fault them for losing to the top two. They wouldn't want to drop this one, though. Right now everyone has them pegged as the third best team in the league for sure, maybe even, in spite of losing to Pascoe Vale, as the number one contender to Aberfeldy. So if they were to drop this one, all of a sudden maybe some of the lustre comes out of Greenvale, but you're right, they start favourites for a reason, don't they? And that is because their form holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I'll be tipping the Jets to win this game as well. I'll tell you, on the road down at Lebanon Reserve, and look, they don't want to be taking Strathmore lightly though, that's the problem. And if they lose, I'm not going to be all that worried about it, to be honest. Like I mentioned, it really should be a big four right now, not a big three. Strathmore should be in that conversation because they're not in the top four and because they have dropped games inexplicably. That's the reason why we're not going with the big four tag. But if they want to be back in that group and be considered contenders, I think they're good enough to be contenders, at least on paper, then they need to be more than competitive and try and win this game.
Clear favourites and clear underdogs for the other four games in Premier Division. Airport West taking on our hosts here tonight, Maribyrnong Park. We both like Marby to get the points in that one, given Airport West's recent form.
Yeah, definitely. Really worried about Airport West right now.
Pascoe Vale taking on West Coburg. Shouldn't be any lasting damage for Pascoe Vale. They really produce anything near their best. You'd think they'd have too much talent for West Coburg. It is, of course, these two are rivals. They've played in B-grade grand finals in very recent history, but I feel as though maybe there's just a bit too much of a gulf in talent between these two.
Interesting you bring that up, Teo. Even at junior level, the rivalry has always been there between West Coburg and Pascoe Vale. Similar colours and not far away from each other and whatnot. And Yeah, that one goes back a long way and goes through all levels, junior through to senior. But yeah, Pascoe right now, they're simply going to be too good.
Keilor versus Aberfeldy, in the 3 head-to-heads last year, none of them were close, and in fact the gap got bigger each time, and I'm worried that the gap is probably even bigger now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Aberfeldy win this by 10 goals plus.
Yeah, Keilor, they don't seem to be able to compete against the top teams. I mean, I can raise the question, when was the last time they claimed a major scalp? You could say Good Friday, but was Strathmore really a scalp based on the form we've seen since? They're good enough to beat everyone below them, Keilor, but not good enough to be a major chance against the top team, so I don't think they'll get close. And
Northern Saints taking on Avondale Heights. Northern Saints coach Steve Kostevsky said it's only 1 week when I asked him about whether or not he was happy about the challenge that they took up to Strathmore. No Fort Caruso playing for Northern Saints either, so they were without Nat for the rest of the year, lose Fort and a couple of others, and all of a sudden that depth really gets tested. So they'll take a lot of heart out of the loss against Strathmore, but honourable losses aren't going to save them from relegation. They need to win one. I'm not so sure that this is the one. I reckon Avondale Heights, the sniff of a chance to kick a big score. Maybe some of the guys that haven't been performing too well in recent weeks might be able to get in on the act once maybe they break the resistance of the Northern Saints.
You know what? Aside from the radio game, this might be the next most intriguing game of the round, Teo. There might be a little sneaky chance Northern Saints get up in this one. I'm really off Avondale Heights right now. I'm still tipping Avondale.
I'm not feeling it. I reckon Avondale will win this one by a big margin, actually.
No, I'm not saying that. The Northern Saints have, when they have been able to get it together, they've been able to kick big scores, still not necessarily win games, but go back to the old style of just trying to kick 20 goals a game. And look, the Avondale Heights still has a fair amount of firepower themselves, so if it's a shootout, Avondale still wins, but I reckon the Northern Saints will run it pretty close.
Now let's move on to Essendon Forward Division 1, where the game in focus, Oak Park taking on Tullamarine at JP Faulkner. Tullamarine, I think, started a pretty warm favourite here. Didn't think we'd be saying this at the start of the season, but Ryan Pretty kicked another 5 goals at the weekend. Couldn't get into the best in spite of kicking a bag of 5. Instead, it's the Lorries, Marcy, the guys that have been there, Brockway, Hardman, all of the survivors from last year's Premier Grand Final runner-up team that are still being named in the best for Tullamarine, and they're taking the new faces along for the ride here, and they continue to answer the critics, and if they win this one, they will actually be quite safely ensconced in the top 4, which is definitely not somewhere that we thought they would be at this stage of the season.
No, and it does again enhance just how important that the win was against West Meadows a couple of weeks back as well, because if they can stay ahead of the Tigers, well then maybe they just might be a sneaky top 2 chance if Essendon do start dropping games there. So this is a really important game for Tullamarine and also for Oak Park as well, Taylor. Let's not underestimate that. This is 2 clubs, both at 4 and 2 at the moment. Oak Park, may have had a soft start leading into the season. This is a really intriguing game, and I think the fact that we've done a lot of Division 1 lately on the radio means that we weren't at this game ourselves this week. We had to go back to Premier, but yeah, I don't really know, but I'm tipping Tulla.
All right, and quick picks with, again, some interesting games. In a word, can West Meadows take their good form from the Doodle Stars game and roll Craigieburn?
They certainly can.
They can?
Don't think they will, though.
Okay, all right. The Cloaks are in ominous form. Craigieburn's midfield and backline are playing so well. As much as I respect West Meadows, I think that Craigieburn will be a bit too strong for them here. Yeah,
well, they're not as big as Craigieburn and West Meadows, but what they do have is a bit of speed, and that's maybe where they could get them. But I'm still tipping Craigieburn right now. I'm not tipping against the team 0-6 that's come off the bye and has been dominating the competition.
East Keilor versus Glenroy, 2 teams still in desperate need of a win. East Keilor with 2 for the season, Glenroy with just the 1. It's Glenroy's last round before they finally get their bye. Who do you like here? I've tipped East Keilor in the record. I'm actually just more picking them as an upset pick, I reckon. I suspect Glenroy starts the favourite here, but I'm going to back the winning form of East Keilor and let it ride for 1 more week. Who do you like?
I disagree with you on a lot of counts on that one, Teo.
Really? Okay.
East Keilor are the favourites in this game.
Favourites, okay.
But I'm still tipping Glenroy. So I'm tipping Glenroy as the upset tip. You're tipping East Keilor as the upset.
Well, maybe we should
just
pick who we think will win. I don't know.
Well, East Keilor have won 2 games so far this year. Glenroy have only just got up this week, and they've just knocked off Taylor's Lakes, East Keilor. They're at home. They're the favourites.
And Essendon Doodle Stars are warm favourite at Hillside against the Sharks. We'll be interested to see how they respond to dropping, well, not dropping a game as in a loss, but at least being held to a draw by West Meadows. Let's move on to Strathmore Community Bank Division 2. And unfortunately, it's not a great weekend as far as favourites and underdogs. We're hanging out to go to a game in Division 2, and we will be taking the van out to East Sunbury versus Jacana on Queen's Birthday weekend, the Saturday, and then the week after will be at Cole Reserve for Coburg Districts against Roxburgh Park. But I mean, this was the week. We needed a Division 2 blockbuster this weekend, but unfortunately we haven't got one. So Hadfield taking on Jacana, Burnside Heights clear underdog against Moonee Valley, Coburg Districts a very warm favourite against East Sunbury, Roxburgh Park versus Keilor Park. You'd have to say, based on Roxy's form last week, pushing Hadfield all the way, that they start a very warm favourite against Keilor Park. Make a case for the upset. Can you see one here, or are we going to be looking at 4 fairly clear-cut results at the weekend?
The pick of the games would have to be Hadfield and Jacana.
It was 100. It was 90-something, 99 points, I think, last time they played. So
yeah, well, look, Jacana can be very on and off. You know, they can turn up and pull off an upset from out of nowhere, or they can go missing, and Hadfield could win this one by 100 points again. If good Jacana turns up, this will be the game of the round, and that might be a sneaky little chance. And look, Hadfield are due for a downer, you could say, but I'm still tipping the Hawks.
All right, well, that's what's coming up this weekend. The radio game, don't forget to get EDFL Team app and also 98.9 FM on your conventional radio. Strathmore taking on Greenvale. We'll be live from 1 p.m. on Saturday all the way through until 5:30 p.m. We have the wrap show, of course, with all the around-the-ground scores and people reporting in, coaches as well on the phone after the game. So make sure you get Team app, join more than 1,100 other members. It is the easiest way to get the 98.9 FM coverage if you're out of range on a conventional radio. Adem Saricaoglu, thank you for joining me this week.
Good to be back, Tayo.
And make sure you click through to the EDFL YouTube channel. If we haven't spoken about your team a great deal or about a certain match that you want to hear more about, we have on the podcast. So click through and check it out on the EDFL YouTube channel. That's it from Maribyrnong Park.
That's it for this edition of EDFL Web TV. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more updates. I'm Claire Varley, and we'll see you back here at the Pascoe Vale Hotel soon.